Live, Guard Your Grill Boxing, lots to discuss. As usual, we gonna wait for Train to hop on. Had some boxing on, rare occasion to have Thursday night fights. We got man, Train's coming on. Accept. Here we go. All right. There we go. We're live. You there?
I'm there,
Oh, okay.
bro. Can you see me?
Word. Yeah, I got you.
All right. I don't know why you're doing black for me. This be happening sometimes. It's like weird.
Yeah, man. So we've had stemming from last night, we've had an interesting day as it concerns just, boxing's a funny sport. It's one of those sports, man, where everybody has their perception of things. You know what I'm saying? And we have to kind of navigate through it at times. But, we had a rare occasion, Thursday night fights on ESPN.
What commercial?
We came from the era of the Tuesday night fights, shot to the USA Network. The ESPN at one point had the Friday night fights. That was a staple. But, this is a rare occasion. And we saw one of boxing's top fighters, in his third division world title fight. And that is obviously, Shakur Stevenson as he faced off against Edwin de los Santos. But, man, like I said, everybody has their perception, man. And it's one of the interesting things with boxing, man, where, everybody got two eyes, but people see things very different, man. So before we do that, man, do you want to talk about the fight before, which is like kind of getting overshadowed because of the main event?
Right.
But we had Emmanuel Navarrete, the WBO 130-pound champion, against former gold medalist, and I completely lost sight of this. Robson, I'm gonna butcher his last name.
Conceso.
Yeah, man. Wow. That was one of those fights that it was just kind of. I hate to use the term, we joke around like the bar fights, but this was kind of going everywhere, man. I mean, this fight was here, it was there, it was there, man. So, just give me your 2 cents real quick before we hop onto the meat and potatoes of it all.
Speaking of meat and potatoes, I looked at that as how you give a kid dessert first and then expect to give them dinner? That's what happened with that fight last night, the Conceso fight and Navarrete fight. It was like getting dessert first, and then the Shakur and De Los Santos fight was like having dinner after you had dessert. Everybody's stomach was full, right? I mean, I still have room for dinner, but mostly everybody that watched that fight, because they were so bugged out because it was action packed nonstop. And Navarrete, his style is, I'm gonna let you punch yourself out, then I'm gonna punch on you. But the problem last night was Canseco, and I'm probably messing this guy's name up, but he never tapered off. And the one thing that he did that was really smart was he was clinching and Olympian pedigree, a steadfast. He's 35 years old, so he's no spring chicken. So he's a well-seasoned dude, pun intended. And he's been around, so he knows how to survive. Even when Shakur fought him, he knew how to, even though Shakur, dominated him, but he still knew how to survive. And Navarrete wasn't used to that, because most guys, by the time it got to that part of 2 knockdowns, you get to 2 knockdowns, constantly, put your hands on him. And with that being said, a lot of shots was being blocked. Tim Bradley and those guys was saying he was getting hit with body shots in one particular round. I know because we talked about it in the group chat. He turned and caught a lot of them shots on his gloves and elbows. Not to say that he didn't get caught, because he definitely did, but it was points in that fight where he was turning and clinching with a lot of shots, so it helped him like get through. But he didn't have a lot of starch on his punches, but his will, like he won that fight. Well, it was a draw, which I think that they got that right for once. That draw,
right, yo, like rare occasion.
But it was what, like, it go to show you that, you know, sometimes will can outdo skill. Like his will just it carried his, I'm gonna say this, will and his and experience. You
Yeah.
know, learning how to hold on. You know, so many guys don't know how to hold, like Oscar Valdez. There's no shade to him, but he's gonna punch his way out of trouble.
Yeah,
Where
yeah,
say
yeah.
last night clinched his way out of trouble. And that's technically that's how you supposed to do it. You know, you're supposed to hold on to buy time, you know, so.
No, you're right. You're right. And you know, and then and we talked about this before, and you know, during or actually like right after the fight, it's like, do they run this back? Like, if you're Navarrete's people, do you run this back immediately, or do you go on to the next best thing? Because the thing I got out of this, and we've seen
Go
Navarrete fight before.
Vaughn. Yeah, that's my man Vaughn. It was last night, Vaughn. Go ahead,
Yeah,
Roberto.
it's just like I said, do you go on to the next thing, or do you fight somebody like, again, now you made a point, a 35-year-old tricky guy who, again, like towards the end he started to kind of taper off, but he was there like the whole fight, and he was doing a lot of things that showed his pedigree. And I feel Navarrete is a guy that he what you see is what you get. He, like you said, he waits a little while,
Yeah.
and he just starts to unload, and we started to see that. And I thought it was kind of, you know, we were joking in the chat like, oh, here we go. But to Navarrete, I mean, to Conceicio's credit, he made some adjustments, and you could kind of tell Navarrete, like he winged these punches, but like he wasn't landing as flush as the commentators would like to let you believe.
Yeah.
But
That's a whole nother story there.
yeah,
But, yeah.
right. So I don't know, man. Like, you know, because the 130-pound division's kind of like in this point where, like they did sign Oshaki Foster, which is pretty interesting. So he's another one of the 130-pound champions. So do you go and fight him, or do you run it back and, you know, to like, I guess for Navarrete to close out the show? But I am happy though, like that decision, it came out to be what I felt was fair. You know,
Right.
we always can't go by the CompuBox stats, but you know
Gosh.
what I'm saying. But
Fantasy
yeah,
football.
that was actually a fun fight to watch.
It was an entertaining fight, and to answer you, I think they should run it back, and I'm gonna tell you why. Because, you know, like you always say, sometimes you gotta create your own business. And last night, business was created. Love stuff like that. They love stuff like that versus what we get ready to transition into next. So people like that type of stuff. So, and if you're Navarrete, like, even though he's tricky, you know, he's a difficult guy to kind of, you know, dominate. You know, you got to somewhat like your chance of going in a rematch. But I think that it's a fight that's marketable, it's sellable, and I think that we need a 13th round. You know, I think that they should run that joint back because
Right.
it you know, it upstaged the main event and everybody was talking about it, but unfortunately it got overshadowed, like you said, because Mr. Red October, what's up, bro? It got overshadowed because of the main event. Tito Francisco, what up, homie?
Yeah.
What we get ready to talk about?
Well, I guess we'll just hop right into it, man.
Yeah, this
You know,
is.
we were all looking forward to this fight. You know,
Yeah.
initially it's supposed to be Shakur Stevenson and Frank Martin. That didn't pan out, and then we got this fight. So listen, and like like I said, we've had an interesting day. You know, you put up the post.
Yeah.
I put up the post on the FB. You know, there's been a lot of
Right.
chatter going on as it concerns, you know, Shakur Stevenson's performance in this fight. Now, listen, I have, you know, I'll say guard your grill, man. We don't have these horses in races, Do we have fighters we like? Yeah, of course. Everybody does,
Of course. Yeah.
But, the consensus going into this fight was, this is really the fight for Shakur Stevenson to really get he's still even though he's a 2-division world champ, well, now 3, but he's still almost considered sometimes as a prospect more so than being a 2-division world champion. Well, now 3, but this was the fight that was supposed to put him kind of on a pedestal to be what I feel was kind of the beginning stages of a fight with him and Gervonta Davis. Now and leading up to it, there's this picture now floating around. I posted up on the Facebook page. It's a Terrence Crawford, Floyd Mayweather, Shakur, and Andre Ward. I mean, when you talk about people that are kind of having his back, again, it sends signals to all right, there's something special about this kid. And look, Shakur Stevenson, we've seen him as an Olympian. We've seen him turn pro. We've seen him up to this point. And we saw all of us saw the fight, okay? And this is where how I started it off with boxing is this funny sport where the fans we all have 2 eyes, but we all see things sometimes a bit differently than others. And the consensus from everybody, not everybody, but from a good amount of people, based on your post, other forums I've seen, that you're hearing the term runner, you're hearing boring,
lackluster.
I'm hearing bum, which I hate using that word.
Yeah, but I heard that too. I heard that.
Shakur Stevenson won a unanimous decision. Like I think one card was 115, 113, and the other 2 was 116, 112.
Which is crazy, by the way, but that's
I'll pass it off to you. But as far as what I saw, okay, and this is again, and when I meant we don't have a horse in the race, reason I'm prefacing that is to say, I'm not giving Shakur any kind of excuse, but it is pretty apparent something was up with his left hand. He didn't use it practically the entire fight, with the exception of a couple instances. That being said, okay, and this comes down to, I guess, my eyes. Okay, I'm somebody who loves all kind of styles of boxing. Okay, I love barroom brawls. We talk about the Gotti Ward trilogies. I mean, and then there's other fights I can mention, but I'm also a fan of the actual sweet science and the actual idea of boxing, of hitting and not getting hit. And it's part of where I feel there's a bit of this clash with different people who watch boxing a certain kind of way. Shakur Stevenson, in essence, beat a very quality fighter with one hand. With one hand. And the thing I got from De Los Santos was, as the fight progressed, and nobody's talking about this, for somebody that was beating you with one hand, there came a point where he didn't really engage. And you start, and I asked this question to some people, because again, all of us collectively, me, you, ROD, have been going back and forth with people. And one of the questions I posed to one of my mans was well, for somebody who was only using one hand, De Los Santos didn't seem, and you mentioned this, he never cut the ring off. Yeah. He never put Shakur in a situation where that one hand was going to get eliminated. Okay, there's certain fighters that we've seen historically that you never heard complain about. This guy was running. This guy would. There's a way to nullify that. Okay, now, and I'll pass it off to you. Okay, as it concerns just how you saw the fight. But I mean, I saw a fighter that seemed to have an issue with his left hand, but was doing, while not a lot was going on, he did enough to nullify what De Los Santos was doing, to the point where, I'm going to say this, and I know you agree with it, it looked like he kind of gave up in the end. meaning De
Yeah.
Los Santos. So
Yeah, he was, yeah, no doubt. No doubt. He started doing theatrics. You know, when guy, you know, we used to call that like pre-hype stuff. Like you're doing stuff to kind of deviate what's going on, which is, you know, you're frustrated. You know, Shakur is a very, I want people to understand something. You know, that's why I wanted to get on here and talk, because sometimes when you write, things get lost in context. The thing about Shakur, what makes him so difficult is that he had such a good understanding of metrics. You know, he knows exactly where to be and where not to be. There's a old basketball saying, and when you go in the paint, and they call it the bad part of town. You know, like you don't want to go in the paint. This is back in the '90s doing the rough errors. You know, when they were saying when Detroit was knocking Jordan all over the place back during those times. And they was like, you don't want to go to that part of town. So Shakur I'm gonna draw a parallel. He's like a tourist that takes the scenic routes and the safe routes. He does not go on in the middle of the rough neighborhoods of an urban city. He's going to take the scenic routes to get where he needs to get to, right? Mm-hmm. And that's not to say he's a chump or he's scared or he's a coward. He's a very cautious fighter. Mm-hmm. What is he, 26?
Yeah.
Right. So at 26 years old, he's fighting a style that Mayweather was fighting on the way out the door. Because Shakur fight like an older fighter, where guys where they lost some of their athleticism, so they fight a more like calculated, more measured pace. You know, guys like Bernard and those guys, even Ward, kind of, you know, more of a measured, calculated pace. But what happens when you're in the ring with these guys, a guy like De Los Santos, who's used to teeing off on guys that just stand right in front of him. But Shakur has such a good understanding and a grasp of, I'm going to let a shot off and then I'm immediately getting out of punching range. Mm-hmm. And what he also did in that fight, which I thought was interesting, that I didn't hear a lot of people talk, he was slipping stuff. His reflexes was on point. Now, he didn't return fire on a lot of shots, and that go to your left hand point. And even for the sake of this discussion, I'm gonna leave the left hand alone. I'm gonna just talk about what took place, what I think was going on. I think he respected De Los Santos' power as he should, because this is boxing. I'm not standing in. The reason why I like boxing, I'm not a big person, right? So I like boxing because me not being a big, strong guy, this is a sport where there's rules. There's things in place where I can box your head off and you can't just grab and try to throw me around, so I can actually beat you with my mind instead of with my physical attributes. That's why I love this sport. I don't know why you guys love it. That's why I love it. So to see guys that aren't as strong as the other guy that they're fighting and be able to use their brain and outsmart a guy, despite how it may look. Now, look, was it one of Shakur's best performance? Absolutely not.
No.
It's not one of his best performance. It probably brings down there. You know, his career is still, we don't know what's going to happen. He's 26 years old. But he was able to control De Los Santos basically with a jab and occasionally clinching him, and was off the back foot pretty much the most of the night. He was trying to he was trying to catch him with the check hook, but De Los Santos was so awkward that Shakur couldn't get the timing down with it. He caught him a couple times with it, and people always say that, oh, he should have let his hands go more, which in theory, you guys are correct about that. You always will say, well, he could have let his hands go. But here's the thing, though. He's in there, so he's assessing and he's seeing everything. Maybe something spooked him that he saw, and that decided him to kind of scale back a little bit. Remember that fight, Roberto, when he was fighting somebody, and Andre Ward was mad because Shakur didn't let his hands go more? I forget the dude who he fought. I think that he said something, and I'm paraphrasing. He said the guy had an awkward style, so I didn't want to open myself up. So now this is Shakur saying this about his own fight game. You know, normally the analysts would say that, but Shakur has such a high IQ. He's able to kind of like analyze stuff and break it down in the third part, like outside of his own self, and break the situation down. But, you know, for the most part, you know, circling back to last night's fight, I just think that, you know, he had a guy, and did he give him respect? Of course, he's a puncher. That's what you're supposed to do. I think fans want things a certain way. They wanted him to stand and engage more or return fire more, like James Toney used to do and Floyd used to do. I gotta break something down to you guys, and you guys gotta stop doing this. He's not Mayweather. Mayweather is one of the greatest fighters of all time, and it's not. We don't. And Shakur, to be fair to him, I don't know where his career is going to go, because I know a lot of you guys want to cancel him and end him and close the chapter like y'all do every other fighter, and just want to just end the chapter after one fight. Because we live in such a microwave society, nobody wants to see stuff play out. But I can assure you guys, because I'm a lot older than a lot of you guys out there, they try to write a lot of other guys off too, and they turn out to be Hall of Fame fighters. So when you see situations like what you would have, clash of, and sometimes this happens, it's just a clash of two styles that don't make for an exciting fight. But again, with all that being said, he did what was required, not what was requested. These guys like Shakur Stevenson, and I bring up Bernard Hopkins. I'm from Philadelphia. I was in Atlantic City. I don't know if it was Robert Allen. I forget the fight, but he was getting booed by his Atlantic City. That's our backyard.
Yeah.
It's 90 miles from Philly. That's a home fight. They was booing Bernard. And Bernard was like, I'm cheap. He said, I'm cheap. I don't throw punches when I think the other guy got a chance to hurt, and I'm paraphrasing, but that I'm gonna pay the price for it, basically. And I think Shakur, and this is where, Roberto, I'll give it back to you for a second, where the fire got out of control at, because guess what, Roberto, you and I know this. One thing about boxing, and I heard Roy Jones say this, y'all not gonna like me regardless of what I do. Y'all gonna say that I run. Even if Shakur opened up and threw more punches, you know what people would say? Oh, well, he still didn't knock nobody out. All those pillow fist jokes that people are like, oh, he ran around, he did this, he did that. And this is where Shakur got to understand, you can never appease these people. You're never pleasing them. People always gonna have something fly and something slick to say about you. You know why? Because we live in a culture now, which is social media, which is it's great, it's awesome. That's how we all here. But it's also a curse because everybody's a know-it-all. So this is the land of perfection on social media. So when you buy into this fictitious world that's not real, of where everything is perfect, everybody do everything right, you can never win in that arena. And I just wish for me, Roberto, that Shakur said, yeah, I'm not apologizing to nobody other than to myself, because I felt like I could have did better. But I felt like he fed the frenzy out there.
Yeah.
That he's not just 6 months ago, people were saying this about Devin Haney when he fought Lomachenko. The same difference. So, at the end of the day, man, it's a fight that I'm not mad at, because he did enough what he needed to do to win. No disrespect to people that was mad, and a lot of people who I got a great admiration and respect for was like, no, I wasn't feeling that performance, cuz. And I respect that. For me, I'm a guy that you do what you need to do to win, and I'm good with that. As long as you didn't cheat or do anything goofy, if you did everything within the confines of the rules of this sport, because we're talking about boxing, we're not talking about no other sport, which was defined and created on hit and not being hit, and that's what he did last night. That's not meaning he did something masterful, something that never been done before. That means that he did what the sport is required, which is required to do for the sport, and that's hit and not get hit. So, we'll see where he goes from here. But I know people like, this is the cancel. I've never seen anything like this. It's like, imagine Pernell Whitaker fighting in this era. Like, y'all would have been calling him to see. Everybody want to praise people once they not here no more, and once they retire. I lived through the Pernell Whitaker era. I watched Freddie Pacheco call him a showboat and a disrespect to the sport.
Right.
Like, y'all don't know about that. I do. Because now
that.
Same thing. They did it with Floyd too.
Floyd, same thing, man.
It's the same thing with Floyd.
Yeah.
But people got short memories. They forget how. Oh well, Shakur wouldn't have. Floyd would have let his hands. Yeah, that is true. But at the same time, y'all call these same fans. They're just the one thing about the detractors. they just get recreated. A lot of them wasn't even born. Some people was like 7 to 8, 9 years old when Floyd was in his reign. They the same people. They just new faces. That's all. The detractors. That's why I said I wish Shakur would embrace it, bro. Embrace that villain role. Run with it, because you'll never be the hero for these people.
And yeah, and ROD brought up a good point today when we were in the chats, man. Like, you know, it's not the idea that you're fighting for the sake of what the fans want to see out of you. Everybody got styles, you know. And listen, to your point, I lived in that same era where people were criticizing Pernell Whitaker, people were criticizing Floyd Mayweather, people were criticizing Bernard Hopkins, and a host of fighters that stuck to their game, And I just think what happened was, you know, like you said, when we talk about detractors, okay, and before we got on earlier, I was talking to you about the fact that, you know, Shakur Stevenson is one of these fighters that, because of his fight style, he has detractors that are saying this, oh, he's a runner. You hear that a lot, right? But I bring up the point.
40, 30 years I've been hearing that. 30 plus years.
Like, we have seen, okay, and this goes back to the point of by the way, De Los Santos landed, what was the stat, like the least amount of punches on a fighter in CompuBox history? Like, did I read that correctly?
No, I heard it after the fight. They said it. Yeah.
Listen, man. Again, this goes, and this isn't like throwing jabs at De Los Santos. And to your point, De Los Santos, he's an awkward dude. He can crack, okay? But for somebody that has that ability, okay, had speed, had power, yet by the 8th, 9th round, why wasn't he pressing Shakur?
Right.
Something was happening there.
Yeah.
Frustration was setting in. He was starting to notice, well, damn, every time I get here, it's not like he's fleeting away. It's just Shakur just gives him that, like, what are we talking about boxing? It's a game of inches, right?
Yeah.
It's a game of inches. And Shakur would take these steps, like, now I'll say this, okay, to be fair. There were points, and we heard Pops in the corner telling him, don't go back too much in a straight line, okay? That he was correct about that. But the thing with Shakur, and for a fighter like at 26 years old, that he's able to understand distance, like, again, all it takes is this. And De Los Santos started to see, and this is when he started lunging. He started throwing these wild shots because he got frustrated. And I knew at some point in this fight, this was going to start to kick in, the mentality, the frustration, and it showed. But with people like, you know, the people you're mentioning, the detractors, they don't look at it like that. They look at it like, oh, you're not engaging. You're not trying to fight. You're not trying to. And listen, man, like we bring up the other fighters. Like, this same rhetoric has been given to all these other fighters. And somebody else mentioned here, like, that they saw kinks in Shakur's armor. You know where I heard that from too? Floyd. Same thing. Oh man, he might have lost that fight. He's got kinks in his armor. But then it's like, as his career goes on, you're like, okay, you know, this wasn't Shakur's best outing. Like, I mean, I don't think that's really the argument.
Put him in with one of them other guys and see how he looks. One of those top guys and see how he looked in one of those fights.
And yeah, so I look, I think for Shakur, and I agree with you. Like, I think, and somebody wrote a comment that was like spot on in the post that he put, that he don't got to apologize for anything.
I saw that,
you know what I'm saying?
I saw that. And that's how
like,
I felt.
You don't got to apologize for anything, man. Like,
owe these people nothing.
Right.
Nothing.
Absolutely not.
Like, I know fans y'all think like they don't owe it. They don't owe you nothing. Like, if you go to a fight and it's not. See, this is what happens too. People go to a fight. I get it. You think, listen, I only want to talk about the ticket I paid for Spence and Crawford. That was what 8 really. What's the round that he stopped Spence?
In
the night. Okay. But the fight was over in the second round, really. But guess what? It is what it is because I understand how boxing it happens. I've seen lopsided championship fights before, so for me it was just, oh damn, well this was a great experience. But people, I get it. You pay your hard-earned money. You want to be entertained, and I always tell people, if you want to entertainment, go to a rodeo, or I'm serious. Like, or go to a circus where it's no matter what, they're going to entertain you, no matter what happens. But when you go to a boxing match, there's a slight chance that what you got last night might happen again. Especially when you got a guy like Shakur Stevenson, who prides himself on this style of. This is not the first time Shakur fought like this. Like I brought up that other fight when Warren got on. So it's not like this it hasn't happened before. The problem is too, Roberto, is that when fans don't like certain fighters, they always waiting for the other shoe to drop. And I remember Roy Jones told Larry Merchant, he said, I always prefer the fans that don't like me come to see me because, no, he said, I messed it up. He said, the fans that don't like me will always pay money to come and see me because the people that do like me expect for me to win. And Shakur got to understand, those guys, they're heavy on social media, right? Mm-hmm. These new wave dudes. And that's cool. That's how you promote your branding and all that. But he just signed with endorsement with Reebok and the Prime Energy drink and all that.
Yeah.
So you setting yourself up, and trust me, all these people that's talking fly and rapping off beat, like these people, they're going to watch you again. Oh, I'm not watching his fights no more. You know how many times I heard that?
We hear that with Floyd. Oh, yeah, I'm not going to buy his pay-per-views.
I get the hell out of here
every time.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So I put up, and we know from what we do, I put up a Shakur post that got more foot traffic than anything I put up in the last couple of weeks. So somebody care about it. It ain't just people that like Shakur that care, because why would you come and talk about something that you don't like unless you got an interest into it?
Right.
So it's just, listen, nobody's saying that Shakur is perfect. Like I said, until they all fight each other, any name you want to mention, Devin Haney, Gervonta Davis, and Shakur Stevenson, they all got to see each other before their careers conclude, because I know a lot of y'all like to do the whole multiple choice SAT thing, A, B, C, or D, or all the above. That's not how boxing works. You got to get in the ring and fight. You can't just pencil in A, B, C, or D, all the above. These dudes got to scrap at some point, all of them. And I guarantee you this, and this you can pick anyone. When they all fight each other, just like you saw with Crawford when he fought Spence, it's going to look so much different from what you're seeing right now. So, that's what needs to happen. Instead of y'all complaining and trying to cancel people, how about getting these guys in the ring fighting who they need to fight? Because what y'all like to do is, oh, well, he's not ready to fight Gervonta, or Devin Haney not ready to. Oh, Devin Haney was the undisputed lightweight champion. What do you mean he's not ready to fight Gervonta Davis? What type of crazy talk is that? But people are so fixated on who they like. Y'all just want to play fantasy football. Cool, I play it. I used to play it in the NFL. This ain't fantasy. This ain't fantasy. Where you pick wide receivers and running backs and rack up yards and brag to your homie how you won the league.
They really have to fight, right?
They really got to rumble. And this is where everything kind of gets lost at. It's the one thing I don't like about y'all modern day boxing fans. That's the one thing I don't like about y'all. Like, y'all so fixated on what contract this guy got and this, that.
Oh, he's with this promoter and all.
It's crazy. Because if you want to keep it funky and be technical, De Los Santos is a PBC fighter. Because he not even with Top Rank. So that's
right.
You feel me? So that's why I said we gotta pause on a lot of that stuff, man. I just want to see these dudes all fight the best. You know what I mean? That's how it's supposed to go. And not keep fighting, these offshore fights.
You're 1,000% right. And that's who, when that happens, we get what we get, man. Okay? And you brought up Crawford and Spence. And we're still dealing with the ramifications of that fight as it concerns, again, like, you have detractors and you have people,
They still discrediting
Still
Crawford, apparently,
discrediting Crawford. Still
which is
discrediting Crawford.
crazy to
Months
me.
later.
Which is insane to me.
Right.
There's so many
And
agendas out there, Roberto. There's so many different like subplots in boxing. It's so cliquish now. It's cliquish.
Yeah, and I think as well what happens is, and we've had this discussion offline, where there's these publications or these YouTubers that try to like spit these narratives, false narratives that like isn't the real. You know what I'm saying? And at the end of the day, like you said, like you can't pencil in like who you think is gonna win, and that's just what it is, and that's the gospel. No, you got to get in the ring and you got to prove your worth. Okay, we don't sit here and diss Gervonta Davis or we diss Devin Haney, but at the end of the day, they gotta all meet. They all gotta meet. And we came from the era.
You see this right here on my wall, right here. You know why these guys on my wall? 1, 2, 3, 4.
They all fought. They all fought. And
you can't come on my wall until some legacy been created. It's all legacy dudes on this wall, and none of them have established any legacy yet. None of them. They don't for themselves, but no legacy has been established.
And your legacy isn't determined on how many pay-per-views you do or how many social media followers you have, because again, we're in this era where the metrics determines your validity as a fighter, which is such BS. Okay, because let me tell you something. Okay, and we have we have people in the crew that are that are tied into the music industry, and if you're starting to read some of these stories that are coming out with Spotify and some of these other streaming apps as it concerns like these these hits or these listens, that don't equate. It don't equate. And at the end of the day, these dudes got to get in there and fight. Okay, they got to get in there, and at the end of the day, we'll know what's up. We'll know what's up, and the best versions of these guys tend to come out when they get in the ring, especially at the ages that these guys are at. Look, now listen, Tank just turned 29. Okay, Devin Haney and Shakur, like those like mid-20s. They're in the prime age right now to get the very best versions of these fights that we could possibly get. Because to your point, man, we got Terrence Crawford and Errol Spence. I feel like a later than it really should have happened, and things happened, before that fight happened. But you do tend to think like, man, what if this happened like 5 years ago, 4 years ago, 3 years ago? We don't need the what ifs anymore, and I don't think the sport can afford for these guys to wait. Like,
we can't afford that, bro. We can't afford another long dragged out 35-year-old, 35-year-old they were fighting each other. Like, look, great as it was, we all waited for it, but we don't want that again. We feel like all these guys are in their respective primes or entering them. These fights should. Next year, we get ready to get into gear, like get ready to start putting these fights in motion. I had a guy tell me earlier, these y'all dudes is wild, man. Dude tell me on my page, right, Roberto, he was like, yeah, so Shakur, like, he got to go to the back of the line because, his business, his FICO score, like, took a dip and, he got to rebuild.
Score.
I mean, I'm like, my man, like, you giving out all this financial advice, you need to go get paid for that, bro. Like, why you on here telling me about this person need to do X, Y, and Z? Because, I let people think they, be great. Like, they come on here thinking they schooling me or you about the business. Like, bro, like, and I'm not trying to be arrogant, but there's nothing you can tell me about the business of the sport.
Been around the sport a long time.
And we ain't got to name drop and do all that, but, just put it like this: we're very connected in this sport. I can get anybody I want on here, but I like to talk to the people, the people, the everyday people, that's in the, shout out to people in the chat, the people that support the page and all that. That's, I like to talk to the everyday, civilian that watch the sport, get your opinion. Look, and we can all have different opinions, but sometimes people go so way over the top. And I'm just like, yo, I get it. You don't like him. It's all good.
Right.
You don't like him.
Right.
And it's fine. So he gave you some ammo. And that's what happened. The same thing happened with Devaney in the Lomachenko fight. I know y'all don't like him. So this was a perfect opportunity. You see, what happens is, and this happens in all walks of life, people can't separate art from artists. So because you don't like the way he carried himself, like one bull was like, oh, I don't like Shakur because he talked too much. Who didn't? They all talk. That's what boxing is about. They all talk dirty. And most guys like Shakur that has that type of style, Shakur won't do it. He don't care about fans booing, none of that. So when he say, I'm gonna run through this guy in 4 or 5 rounds, that's talk that sell a fight.
Yeah.
He know y'all don't respect that style that he bringing, so he got to sell himself outside the ring, which is smart.
Right.
But he like, usually they like, oh, he was popping all his trash. So you wanted him to just stand in front of Bull and mix it up with him. That would have appeased you. So then when he get knocked out, you be the same Bull like, oh, I told you he was overrated.
Right.
His defense.
Right.
You know how it go, man. You can't win for losing with these people. Can't win.
No, you can't. And I think we got to wrap up soon before this cancel. But I want to make this point. Like,
go ahead, bro.
Floyd made a career, the second half of his career and he understood. He knew the same mentality that some of these fans have that, oh, you know, you got to trade with everybody. And what did he do? He brought them in. Oh, yeah. You know, this guy, man, this guy's big. He might. And then when the bell rang, you got a show. You got the Floyd Mayweather show. And then what was funny was people would leave these fights. Oh, all he did was run. Oh, he didn't engage. Those same people went and bought the pay-per-view after. But the thing Floyd never did, and I hope Shakur kind of, again, this isn't to copy him, but the mentality is don't play to the crowd that's trying to make you fight a certain way. Fight your fight. Yeah. But if those same people are gonna bitch and complain, they're gonna be there bitching and complaining the whole way through.
Yep. Paying a ticket to watch you lose.
And Floyd, that was the brilliance of Floyd. His marketing was brilliant. That's not saying Shakur needs to be a replica of Floyd Mayweather. No, I'm not saying that.
But the mindset, I agree with you.
Mindset. The detractors are always going to be there. They're not, as much as they say I'll never watch. When you see the people say I'm never gonna watch a Shakur, that's BS. That's BS. Those same people will be there the next fight because the next dude is always gonna be the next dude to take Shakur out.
Yep. Agree, bro.
But hey,
all right, next week, big middleweight fight. Can't wait.
What a card, though. What a card.
Yeah,
it's crazy card, man. We're gonna be. I'll be on location in the NC, so we'll touch. Yeah, we'll touch base from there. You know, bring you know, I already discussed. You know, bringing.
That travel, that wherever I go, it goes with me in the duffel bag. Yep.
Oh man. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that. That's the last
big one, right?
Card, man. Crazy, man. But yeah, we'll be back next week. You know, follow us on the gram at GYGB Boxing. Shout out to ROD. We are out, man. Peace.